Good evening, everyone. I'm the Adult Programs Coordinator, Paul Cabine, here at the Garland County Library. And I want to give a warm welcome to our candidates and their campaigns and the voters and the viewers at home. And this is the library's very first candidate forum. And after this May's primary election, we do hope to host a series of more focused forums and Q&As for the candidates leading up to the general election in November. So please keep an eye out for future opportunities to come and speak to those seeking your vote. For tonight, all candidates running for office up and down any Garland County ballots were invited and encouraged to attend this forum. So races with at least one candidate expected in attendance tonight are included in the handouts. Now, I do have a disclaimer. The Garland County Library does not endorse any candidates or political parties. But we strongly encourage you to vote, and you can do that here at the library on Tuesday, May 24th, which is why I want to introduce our chairman of the Garland County Election Commission, Gene Haley, to say a few words.
Thank you, Paul. First thing I want to talk about is out front there is a handout showing the election day and early voting locations. There's 5 early voting locations and 16 election day locations. There's also little cards that says how to find your sample ballot. Anybody can go on there and put their name, their date of birth, and first it'll show they're registered, and second it'll show their ballots. There's 3 ballots for each individual voter, a nonpartisan, a Democrat, and Republican. Because this is a primary election, you have to choose which election you're going to vote in. So when you go to the polls, they're going to ask you which election do you want to vote in, and you choose which one you want to vote in. So if you choose a Democrat and there's going to be a runoff. If you choose Democrat and there's a Republican runoff, you can't vote in that runoff. If you choose vice versa, if you choose Republican and there's Democrat runoff, you can't vote. If you choose nonpartisan, you only get judges and school board. So there's 64 different ballots for this election, mainly because everybody gets 3, and there's at least 9 school districts that have to be on the ballot. The runoff election will be June 21st, 4 weeks after the May 24th election. You'll see signs up that basically say crossover voting is a crime. What that means is you can't choose a Democrat in one and Republican in the other, or vice versa. There's been a lot of talk about election security. You'll see a sign up at the polls about election integrity and a toll-free number to call if you have any question about what's going on in the poll. And please bring it to our attention. This goes to the Secretary of State's office, and they'll investigate any discrepancy that you might report. But basically, what happens in Arkansas and in Garland County specifically is at an election, each polling site, the poll workers sign a certificate swearing how many votes there are. And then there's a printout from the scanner that has the number of votes. And then there's a sack with ballots in it signed by all those same people. All 3 of these things are signed saying this is what happened in that poll that day. And these stay in my office for 2 years. So no matter what you see on TV or anything else, the ballots are counted and kept locally. Doesn't matter, nothing gets connected to the internet other than saying you went here to vote, so you can't go somewhere else and vote. That's the only thing that ever happens over the internet. Our machines cannot be connected to the internet, so we can feel safe about that. But please go out and vote early, and I'm certainly always available if anybody has any questions.
All right, tonight's forum is being live streamed on the Garland County Library's YouTube channel, and the recording will be shared on our Facebook page tomorrow, so be sure to share those with everyone you know so they can learn more about the candidates on the ballot. And without further ado, thanks again for coming tonight. I'm going to turn things over to our guest moderators. We're going to introduce themselves and go over the rules briefly, but we have Miss Diana Hampo, who is, what's your title again, Tina?
I work at U.S. Station.
You work at U.S.
With the
She does
radio
so
stations.
much. She has probably 10 different titles and hats she's juggling. And we also have Mr. Marsalis Weatherspoon, who is the current president of our local NAACP branch. So welcome to our guest moderators.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marsalis Weatherspoon. I am the president of the Hot Springs branch of the NAACP, unit number 6013. We are proud that in this year we'll be celebrating 80 years of being in this community. So we're grateful to be here and grateful for Mr. Paul Kettlebein. I got an email from Adam Webb, the executive director of the Garland County Library, back in 2020 and said, how can we partner with your branch? We want to do more. How can we serve the Black community? And they have done just that. Every month we have what's called Perceptions of Color and explore the African American community. And we're glad to be a part of this tonight. As Paul has already stated, the NAACP is also a nonpartisan organization, but we do urge everyone to register, and we do urge everyone not just to register, but to also use their right to vote. So it's not just about registration, it's also about mobilization. So we're glad that y'all came all this way this evening. So we're looking forward to hearing from each of the candidates, and we hope that you're brief. And we hope that everyone has a wonderful time on tonight. Thank y'all for coming.
All right, my name is Diana Hampo. I'm longtime Hot Springs, my parents' Hot Springs, and I get to be the heavy with the rules. Okay. Candidates will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. They do not have to use all of their time. But if they hit the 1 minute mark, one of the moderators will either ring a bell or yell at you. Tonight, there will be no question and answers. If we did that, we'd be here till 2 a.m. And there are kids here and they need to go to school tomorrow. Finally, please be respectful. Please be respectful. Keep in mind, again, there are children here. Candidates are asked not to issue personal attacks on their opponents, other candidates or voters or the moderators. If uncivil remarks are made, the candidates will be given a warning at the discretion of the moderators. And finally, because of the live stream, if y'all be careful with background noises, okay? Because this is Paul's first, and we're really proud of him, and we want lots more. With the no questions and answers, please write those questions down because they're important. And later this year, the library is going to host other events, debates, things like that, and we need your questions then. So we appreciate your help. Thank you all for running. It just shows your compassion and your passion and your love for Garland County and for Arkansas and for the voters. And that means absolutely everything. So thank you for doing that, and I hope you guys enjoy the evening.
What's that sound? It's from him.
All right. We want to start with our school board position, and we have Mr. Caleb Sandage, who's here with us today. Let's welcome Mr. Caleb Sandage.
Well, it's an honor to be here today to speak to all of you. First, I'd like to thank Paul and the Garland County Library for hosting this event and for our moderators taking time out of their busy schedule to be able to be here to moderate and make sure everything stays civil and keep control on everything. Thank all the candidates who showed up and all the voters who were here to listen as well. Now, the moderator said, my name is Caleb Savage. I am a candidate for Mountain Home School Board, position 5. And one reason I said position 5 because Mountain Home has 5 positions on the school board. Some schools, boards are larger, so on, all that. Anyway, so one reason I'm running, because that's the biggest question people have been asking me on why I'm running, especially with how young I am, goes all the way back to last May. In May of 2021, we had the first 2 millage votes. Well, that millage did not go the way that a lot of people in the community wanted, and it was just, our community was not our community for about a week. And it was really saddening to see, because our community is always, we're a small community. Don't know what this census said. I know back in 2010 census, we were around 700 people. And so I mean, it's just, we've all been such a tight-knit community, so united in many ways. And to see for the week after the millage failed how our community turned, and then to see none of our school board members truly trying to calm tensions, but it was really saddening to see. And so immediately then I started thinking about, who needs to run, who can run. Because all of our school board members, with the exception of 1, have been on there or the exception of 2, have been on there for at least 2 terms. And so I talked to a lot of parents. They wanted to support someone, they didn't want to do it, and the final consensus was that I was to run. And so that's, somebody said, if no one else wants to, you got to take it in your own hands and do it. And so, like I said, so one big thing I want to do as a school board member if I'm elected is put academics first. We see all the schools put education first. Every school you look at on the website says education first, but education is it's a broad term because there's so many components to education. And one reason I'm specifically wanting to put academics first is because, and this is according to the Arkansas Department of Education, only 27% of October students are proficient or better in reading. And only 24% are proficient or better in mathematics. The state average shows for reading proficiency, the state average is 47% and 45% for math. And our county average is 42% for reading and 45% proficient in math. And to me, those numbers are just unacceptable. I mean, out of 100%, if only 27% are proficient in reading, I mean, that's just not fair. Because, I mean, that shows then you go into graduation rates and you have a certain amount essentially that you're graduating that are not proficient in reading. And I mean, you just can't have it because if you can't read, you can't do math, what can you do in your life? What can you truly do in society at that point? And there's a lot of programs that we have in place. I'm going to be speaking with school administrators on some of the programs we have and seeing how long they've been implemented. But since 2018, we have consistently gotten worse in both these categories. And our kids aren't dumb. We have very smart kids, and count fine, all of them are smart. We have great educators. In fact, some of our educators have been teaching for over 20 years. We have one of them at school for around 22, 23 years. And our educators are very experienced in teaching. They have the degrees. They know what they're doing. But I do know there's a lot of resources we do need to implement, and a lot of, maybe, not just resources, but maybe even other state-approved curriculum that we can put in place. But something's not working, and we need to get down to the bottom of that. And I mean, it seems like no one truly knows what's going on. That's what I want to do, is sit down with our teachers, our administration, and just get along and just find all that. And then the other biggest issue is transparency. We're not really transparent. We don't advertise board meetings. We don't live stream board meetings, which is something I am going to do if I'm elected, is a live stream board meetings. Because when you look at your board meetings and you look at your minutes, they need to comprehend. They need to go together. And like I said, transparency, when there's a lack of transparency, that's when your confusion comes about. That's when when division can come because no one really knows a lot of stuff's going on. And so transparency, the putting academics first, and then also trying to develop a 20-year campus development plan is really the 3 big things I'm trying to run on and that I would like to see us do, because we need to get out and we truly need to start planning for the future for our children, because we can't stay stuck, back in the 20th century. We really have to get in line with the 21st century and the years to come. With that, God bless.
Our next speaker is running for constable, Hale Township, Jason Brassfield.
Thank you. Also, I'd like to thank Paul and the Garland County Library and the moderators for giving their time and space to us. I'm brand new to running for anything, so just, my name is Jason Brassfield and I'm running for Hale Township Constable. My background in law enforcement and business. My background is in law enforcement and business and not politics. So my speech might not be what you're used to hearing from a political candidate, but I'm going to give it my best shot. I guess the best way to start is by telling you a little bit about me. I'm a 24-year resident of Garland County and a 23-year resident and homeowner in Hale Township. I've been married to Bethany Brassfield for 21 years, and she has been selling real estate in Hot Springs in Garland County for 26 years. We have 2 daughters. Our oldest is at the University of Arkansas as a freshman, and our youngest is a junior at Lake Hamilton High School. I'm a former Hot Springs Police Department sergeant. I began my time there as a patrol officer on days and quickly moved to graveyard shift after the academy. I then was promoted to the Criminal Investigation Division, where I was a property crime detective, and during that time was elevated to the position of a violent crime detective. I was then promoted to the rank of sergeant and assigned as a supervisor on swing shift. During my time as a patrol supervisor, I was routinely responsible for the supervision of 12 to 15 officers during a shift. I was then moved back to the Criminal Investigation Division, where I then served as property crime supervisor and later was moved to become the violent crime supervisor before leaving the police department. My training and other responsibilities at the police department included advanced crime scene technician certification, bloodstain pattern analysis expert, forensic video analysis. I was the crime scene unit commander, have school resource officer training, along with SWAT training, training in the recovery of human remains, post-blast investigations, interview and interrogation techniques, patrol response to active shooter incidents, property and violent crimes investigator, including homicides, sex crimes, and robberies, background checks for police applicants, management of criminal investigation divisions. I was a Citizens Police Academy instructor and also a guest instructor at National Park Community College. I'm asking the residents of Hale Township for their consideration, support, and vote for the opportunity to serve as their constable. My desire is to use my years of experience and training to provide professional and experienced law enforcement services to all residents of Hale Township. I have many working relationships with members of law enforcement community, prosecuting attorney, and judges in Garland County for my years as a Hot Springs police officer and the 23 years as a Hale Township resident. Public service, and especially being a full-time law enforcement officer, can be taxing. I no longer work full-time in law enforcement and am fortunate that my current occupation gives me the ability, if elected, to devote a majority of my time to serve the residents of Hale Township as their law enforcement professional, without having to fulfill the superseding demands of working full-time for another law enforcement agency. As constable, I plan on bringing compassion, integrity, and professional law enforcement to Hale Township through a number of programs, including school outreach, monthly speaking sessions with local community organizations, a devoted website for residents to request extra patrol areas, pass on information anonymously, ask questions and receive timely answers, as well as request things like vacation house checks or welfare checks on family or neighbors in coordination with the Garland County Sheriff's Department. Again, I'd like to thank Paul and the library, as well as the moderators and those watching online stream or later online, for your time, your consideration, and your support. Thank you.
Mr. Ricefield. When we leave here, you got to tell me where Hale is. All right, our next speakers, both the candidates are here tonight, and in no particular order. We're going to start with Mr. Micah Broughton. from the Republican Party, and this is for Justice of the Peace, District 1, Mr. Broughton.
Like they said, my name is Micah Broughton. I'm running for Justice of the Peace District 1. Thank y'all for having us. I guess I've never been involved in politics, just watched a lot of the news and stuff, with everything going on, and decided to get involved and see what I could do, give back to my community. And it seems like it's a pivotal time in our country to do that. And just to take part, especially for my generation. So I'm leaning in, wanting to start attending quorum court meetings. I've attended one, just get a grasp of the job and what is required of me. I'm a physical and social conservative, believe in Christian values and the Constitution, the right to bear arms, freedom of speech. I'm against abortion fully. And those are just the basics, the easy questions. And so I'm just leaning in, seeing where I can serve and seeing what I can do. I'm a welder and carpenter, and I just work for a living, and that's about it. Trying to keep it short for everyone who also works. And so, yeah, I really appreciate y'all having me here, and I can't wait to see what else I can do. So thank you.
All right. Our next candidate is Dave Reagan, the incumbent and also running for Justice of the Peace, District 1.
Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you, Adam Webb and Paul, for hosting this candidate forum, and thanks to all the candidates for your interest in government by and for the people. My name is David Reagan, and I come from a large family raised on a small farm in northwest Arkansas. We milked cows, raised beef, pork, and chickens, collected eggs, and grew vegetables in a large garden. The payoff was good food on the table and an appreciation for hard work that put it there. I graduated from high school and worked my way through University of Arkansas as a carpenter's helper. After college, my wife and I moved to New Orleans and then Central Virginia, where I learned skills in historic preservation and restoration. We moved back to Arkansas and found work teaching and retired after a 28-year career from National Park College. I'm the current quorum court Justice of the Peace representing Scenic and Historic District 1. The district extends from Belvedere south to Grand Avenue and Ridgeway, and from Bratton Drive area west to Prospect and out to Cedar Glades Park. Hot Springs National Park, the Thermal Springs, and much of the recharge zone is in District 1. The majority of the district is inside Hot Springs city limits, so when residents have issues, it's important to have working relations with people at all levels of government. As JP for the past 10 years, I've developed working ties and a grasp of city, county, state, and federal regulations that apply to the district. In 1985, we moved into a home in District 1 that was built in 1904, and I still live there to this day. In those 37 years, we helped found Park Avenue Community Association, a nonprofit organization established to improve what were some pretty sketchy living conditions in the most historic section of Hot Springs. First District organizations like Whittington Valley Neighborhood Association and Park Avenue Community Association have written millions of dollars worth of grants and forged relations with local officials to improve safety and living conditions in public parks and along traffic corridors. The rain gardens you see on the streets that beautify the streets also protect pedestrians, and prevent flooding downtown. Most people don't know that. Making streets bicycle-friendly encourages active transportation and healthy lifestyles. We're proud of the progress made in those historic areas that were long neglected. One reward is that real estate values have improved and homes on the market now sell in less than a week, and most of the new owners live in those homes. Economic redevelopment has picked up with new businesses bringing life to existing vacant structures. In 2014, we established Hot Springs Community Garden Network, another nonprofit, thanks to an assist from Hot Springs Parks and Trails.
Yeah, we did it.
Now Garland County residents can grow their own veggies even though they live in an apartment complex or in a situation without garden space. Community gardens provide much more than veggies, with fresh air, sunshine, social interaction, education, and healthy activity. As a garden founder and board member, it was easy to see neighbors begin to take pride in their homes and watch young families move into the neighborhood because of the garden's sense of community. I understand our own Garland County Library is planning groundbreaking for a community garden right across the street. This is indeed good news. Did you say 1 minute?
I did.
Oh. Since 2012, the Quorum Court has created full-time positions of county controller and county attorney, professionals who know the law and keep us between the guardrails. We've also passed numerous other ordinances and resolutions that have brought us into the 21st century. As a Quorum Court member, I look for ways to streamline county government while also making it more efficient and effective. I appreciate the confidence District 1 voters have placed in me over the last 10 years and ask again for your vote on November 8th. Dave T. Reagan, Justice of the Peace, District 1. Thank you kindly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reagan. Now we will have the incumbent for Justice of the Peace, District 4, Mr. Jimmy Young of the Republican Party.
Thank you, moderators. I'll yield my time back to whoever needs it. I'm unopposed. I'll be serving my 4th term at the Quorum Court, and I appreciate the voters and the community for supporting Garland County, and it's been a very much a privilege to serve on the Quorum Court. Thank you.
And next, for Justice of the Peace, District 7, we have Dayton Myers from the Republican Party.
I'd like to say again, thank you to Paul and our moderators for hosting this wonderful event today. I think it's important for everybody to get to meet their local and statewide candidates. We got a pretty good crew here so far. So again, my name is Dayton Myers. I'm running for the Republican nomination for the Justice of the Peace District 7. For those of you who aren't familiar with our Justice of the Peace boundaries, that district covers Diamond Head, the Highway 290 corridor, everything off of Carpenter Dam, south of the lake, so Red Oak Ridge, that area. It covers all the 290 corridor over to 7th South, and it also covers Amity Road. Essentially, everything south of the lakes from Diamond Head all the way out to Amity Road is in this district. So it's a pretty expansive district. I'd probably say that we've got a couple of young candidates running for Justice of the Peace, one for school board. I think it's good to have young blood out here, but I'm probably the youngest candidate. I'm gonna be paraphrasing here, but I'd like to take a quote from Ronald Reagan. You know, in his debate with Walter Mondale back in the 80s, one of the standout quotes that he said is, "I will not make my opponent's youth and experience a factor of this election." Well, I'm gonna turn that around and say, because I'm a young guy, there's certain things that I can bring to the table that people that are, I won't say older, but that are older than me can't bring. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings here. There are a couple of incumbents on here. My biggest thing about why I want to serve Garland County is my whole life has been about community service to Garland County. You know, my biggest passion, I guess you'd say, is pro-life work, especially over here at Change Point Pregnancy Center. You know, one of the things that I pledge to do, and maybe it's one of the incumbent justices of the peace will beat me to it, is to introduce a resolution to make Garland County a pro-life county. Under Act 392, under Act 392 that our legislature passed during their last session last year, they allow for counties and municipalities to introduce that resolution that while it doesn't, you know, technically outlaw abortion in those cities and counties, it shows that those counties, especially Garland County, which is such a red county, stand for pro-life values. I'll give you a little bit of history about my family background in Hot Springs. My great-grandfather was administrator of the Army-Navy Hospital back during World War II before it got converted back over to the state. So well, depending on who you ask, I'm either fourth or fifth generation here in Garland County. I have lived in Little Rock for part of the time, but I'm back here. I'm a real estate broker by trade. I work with Lake Hamilton Realty. One of the things that I plan to do if elected to the Quorum Court, but what I might mention, there's no Democratic nominee, so the Republican primary is essentially the general election. So it's a unique race. One of the things I want to do is utilize, because of my age, I've grown up using technology. There are ways that we can use technology in our county government that will not only save us money, but it'll also make it more efficient. For example, several years ago, the Sheriff's Department applied for a grant that allowed them to have scanners in their patrol cars that instead of having to radio in to the dispatch either the driver's license number or the license plate number of someone they pulled over, they can just scan that driver's license and in a second, they've got all that information if that person's got any warrants or anything like that. There are ways that I will find like that, grants and different things that we can use throughout our whole county government in order to utilize technology to save money, more important than anything. I know nobody likes spending money if you don't have to.
1 minute, sir.
Thank you. I'll wrap it up. There's plenty of people that are still here to speak. I see a lot of people that I know. If you don't know me, I'm more likely I'm going to try and come meet you after this is over. You'll be hearing from me at the Republican Party's forum again on May 5th, but I appreciate y'all listening to me. And if any of my constituents are here, please come up and talk to me after the election. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Our next candidate is Mr. Larry Rainey. He is the incumbent for Justice of the Peace, District 13. Mr. Rainey.
Sorry, I was way in the back. Long walk. Again, thanks to all of you for putting this together and having us out tonight. My name is Larry Rainey. I'm the incumbent District 13 of the Quorum Court. A lot of people don't even know what a Quorum Court is. I was asked that question in the village just last Thursday. And best way to explain it is most of us have lived in the city at some point in our life, so we're used to mayors and we're used to city councilmen, whether you call a councilman or a director or a board member, same thing. County government is structured very much the same way. The mayor, in this case, in the county, is a county judge. And the guys that would be councilmen are JPs, and I'm a JP. So, and by the way, having being a JP, you do get a chance to marry people. And I have performed in the 8 years that I've been a JP. I don't know how many weddings, but I've lost count. I enjoy doing it because every time I do it, it reminds me of the day I stood with my wife and we took the pledge. We've been married 58 years, and that's a wonderful situation. I did not grow up in Hot Springs. I grew up in Houston, Texas. I'm a city boy. Spent my summers on the farm with an aunt and uncle, so I got a little taste of that. And I can understand what Dave Reagan was talking about when he talks about the farm, because I loved it. Came here the first time 58 years ago when I married my wife, and we stayed on the property that we now live on. It belongs to my wife and her family. She's now the 5th generation to hold it. So we have strong ties to Garland County. I fell in love with it. I came back every year since then, and now lived here for about 20 years. Actually, my roots are in Arkadelphia. And my people came from New York to Arkansas, settled in Arkadelphia, and then ultimately moved to Texas, and that's where I was born. Being a JP's got 2 things that you do when you're on a quorum court. Basically, you set the budget for the county and you oversee the budget and the use of the money. We write grants through various departments, we get extra money. That saves taxpayers money because we're getting kickback, if you will, money coming back through the federal government. That means you pay a little bit less tax and we get more use out of it. The other thing we do is we pass rules and regulations. Some of those aren't very detailed, mostly are parking rules, things like that, things you can and can't do on your property. But there's virtually no real regulations within the county. So that's a small part of it. I serve on 3 committees. I serve on the IT committee, and I co-chair that with Jimmy Young. I serve on the HR committee as just a member, and I serve on and am chair of the Public Health, Safety, and Welfare Committee. And so that Dayton will know, matter of fact, the next meeting that we have, Public Safety and Welfare, we're going to be talking about just that item. That is a declaration to make Garland County be labeled as a right to life. I like Dayton, and many of us here, all of us, I think, generally are. We believe in the Constitution. We love the country. Believe in low taxes. I don't want to pay any taxes at all, but I'm a realist, and I know that you can't live that way. I know that one of the things we did, and our committee passed it up, and it was underwritten by the board, by the JP, the Quorum Court, to have the extension on the road tax, and it passed by a narrow margin. I'm glad to have it. One of the things we hear most as a JP is the fact that we have road problems. Next thing we hear is about trash. Well, there's not much we can do about that except try to preach to people, not to throw stuff out the window.
1 minute, sir.
Okay, very good. I'll wrap it up. Been in a position 8 years. I love the work. I would like to serve another 2 years, so I'm running again. I have a candidate. I don't know him very well. His name is Jerry Vaughn. I don't mind saying his name. I am the primary in an election. Whoever wins the primary, Jerry or myself, will be elected because there is no one running against us in the general election. So if you can support me, I would love to have your vote. That's it, folks.
All right, our next candidate is running for Garland County Coroner, Justin Nicholas.
Thank you for having me this evening. My name is Justin Nicholas, and I'm the Republican candidate. I'm a Republican candidate for Garland County Coroner. I love to serve. From a very young age, I have always enjoyed serving. It's how I decompress when I get off work. I go serve somewhere. I love doing it. And if I feel like people are not being properly served, it frustrates me. My dad was the coroner, and I can remember telling myself, I want to serve people just like he does. And that desire it's never left my heart. I work with coroners and medical examiners every day from across the state, and I have for years. And I've told myself several times, when I become the coroner, I'm going to do it like that. I like this idea. I'm going to implement this when I become the coroner. And I picked up a lot of fresh ideas, and I'd like to tell you about a few. We are short on time, so actually I invite you to my Facebook page where you can see an inclusive list of ideas and my complete vision for the coroner's office. But I do want to share a few of them with you, because there's a lot more that fits into the coroner's role than a lot of people think. A few changes that I have in mind. Death certificates. So currently we have a policy in Garland County, if we don't lay eyes on the person, we don't sign the death certificate. We're the only county or corner that I know of in the state that has this antiquated policy. And this puts so much undue stress on families that are already grieving. We can save a lot of time and get them their death certificates. With modern technology, we have access to medical records, and we can sign those very quickly and allow the families to go ahead and settle their affairs in a timely manner. The unclaimed body program, there's a lot of opportunity here. I will work with medical schools, with cadaver programs, willed and unwilled body programs, the Arkansas State Veterans Cemetery. There's several local funeral homes here that participate in the homeless veterans burial program. This will save taxpayers thousands of dollars every year rather than paying a crematory to send these bodies to. More importantly, it gives these people the dignity that everybody deserves through this process. Death notifications. This will be done in person, not over the phone. They'll be done by a trained chaplain. We have people in our county that are willing to complete this curriculum and go through this process and to become qualified to provide this news in a very delicate way, in a very delicate manner, and to have immediate resources for those families and for those people right then. Community outreach. This is basically extinct right now. The coroner's office recently received a pretty substantial raise, somewhat controversial. I plan to utilize that funding. There's an educational opportunity right now. I plan to use that funding for sudden infant death prevention programs. There are overdose and Narcan awareness programs and suicide prevention curriculum. We have one of the highest suicide rates in the state, and there's an opportunity to bring awareness to that in our county and to walk alongside the citizens of Garland County and hopefully help someone get the help that they need in that area. And I'd love to see our coroner's office step up in that role in that area. I appreciate you listening to me this evening. Again, I invite you to my Facebook page. My contact information is on there. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to visit with you. Again, thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. Mr. Nicholas. Now we're going to have the candidates for state representative for District 84. And again, in no particular order. We're going to start with Michelle Gates Roberts. She's running for the Democratic Party.
Hey y'all, I'm Michelle Gates Roberts and I'm running for House Seat 84. And with all the redistricting, everyone says, 84, are you from Northwest Arkansas? No, I'm right here in Garland County. I live downtown. My house is a little bit over 100 years old, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Love that house. A little drafty sometimes. We're working on it. So just a little bit about me. I didn't grow up in Arkansas. My father was in the oil field industry. We've moved around from small town to small town. I mean, hand-me-downs and leftovers were just part of life. But everywhere we went, there were two places. It was non-negotiable, two places. The first place we would go is the public library, and this is where I feel most at home. And so I just want to thank Garland County Library, Adam, the moderators for having us here. This really is like a home away from home. And the second place we went was church. Y'all, I grew up Southern Baptist and I was in the doors every time they were open. And that is where I really learned how to love my neighbor, to have empathy, the connection that comes with that congregation, and really becoming part of the community. Now, moving around small town to small town from humble beginnings, it wasn't a question of if I would go to college, but how. Even back then, college was too expensive for my family. But I worked really hard in high school and I got a scholarship to Ouachita Baptist University. So through that scholarship, Pell Grants and work study through the federal aid program, I was able to graduate with a quality education and be the first person in my family to graduate So it was really a great time of celebration for my family. They were a little sad though. Washita brought me here, but it was a nice Garland County boy that kept me here and made Arkansas my home. So now we have a daughter in Fayetteville studying to become a teacher, and we have a son at Park Elementary, and well, he's 12, so let's just say he's energetic. But like many young couples, many young people who graduate and work a little while in Arkansas, many of us leave because there are opportunities that just aren't here in the state. And so we lose so much talent, so much skill, so much vibrancy. Now, sometimes people come back. My husband and I did, and we came to live. We aren't just the ones that come back for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And we really need to do something about bringing our sons and daughters back to share their experiences. So where was I when I wasn't in Arkansas? Well, we lived for about 11 years in Asia, Japan, and South Korea. And during that time, I worked with and for anti-human trafficking organizations. And it was working with those women and children that I really understood what it was like to live on the fringes of society and what it meant if you missed a paycheck. The hardship and the sacrifice that these women made for their children. The fathers that wanted to be there but maybe couldn't. It was through those experiences that I really developed an empathy for the people on the fringes of society and trying to figure out how to get to the root of the problem and not just put a Band-Aid on it. So y'all, like I say, we have so many people that leave and just a few that come back. Something else that really is near and dear to my heart is healthcare. So public school education, number one.
1 minute, ma'am.
Next is healthcare. I was in the hospital in Japan for over 3 months. My son was born 2 months early. We left that hospital healthy and thriving, and we didn't owe much of anything. If we had lived in the U.S., we would have been bankrupt. And I was in a healthcare system where I saw how people could, no matter where they were from or what, if they had a job or not, they could get quality healthcare, and it was accessible and affordable for everyone. And I want to make sure that we can do that for our sons and daughters and all the people right here in Arkansas. So I'm Michelle Gates Roberts, running for seat 84, and I would love to speak to each and every one of you. I'm so excited to be here and humbled, and y'all are just beautiful. So thank you very much.
And now running for the Republican Party, the incumbent, Mr. Les Warren.
Thank you, and I echo my thanks to the library and everyone who has put this together. It has truly been my honor and privilege to serve as state representative for District 25, which is changing to District 84. During this time, I've got to tell you that it has been an incredible learning experience. The people, the processes, the institution have been an opportunity beyond measure. While I've loved representing my district, there is so much more that I want to do. In my time at the Capitol, I've served on several committees: Revenue and Taxation Committee, Joint Committee on Public Retirement and Social Security, Insurance and Commerce Committee, City, County, and Local Committee, State Agencies, and Governmental Affairs Committee. Talk about a couple of those committees. The Revenue and Taxation. I've been on this committee all 3 terms, and I'm very proud of the legislation we have been successful in passing. Over these 6 years, we have continually worked to reduce the state income tax rates. While we would love to do away with state income taxes and make us more competitive with surrounding states, we are phasing in the top tax rate of 4.9% as we seek to be responsible and maintain a position as a state that does not deficit spend. We have greatly reduced the tax burden on our citizens over my 6 years, and that's across the board, every tax bracket. Retirement. I was named co-chair of this committee in my second term in the House. This past year, I carried the governor's bill to reduce the years required for our state police to retire from 30 years to 28 years. This puts them in line with other retirement plans. We've also worked to protect and enhance the benefits for our teachers. I get to carry a lot of retirement legislation and work very closely with the executive directors of all the retirement systems. I worked on the school board at Lakeside for 10 years. I'm passionate about public education, so getting to take care of the teachers at the Capitol is something I take very seriously. I'm already in the process of working on legislation for the 2023 general session. The other three committees have allowed me to learn about various areas of our state's governmental process, work with the agencies, and meet a host of people across the state. While I started out as number 100, I'll tell you, you go and you draw a number to find out what your seniority will be. Well, there are 100 representatives, and I had prayed before I got there. I'm like, okay, Lord, I need a high number so I can get a good committee assignment. I went up and I drew number 100, and I said, I get it, God. I'm supposed to start at the bottom and work my way up. So I have worked my way up, and if I get to return, I'll be in the 40s with seniority. So I'm working my way up, and I'm enjoying the process. I have got good committee assignments right now, and I think they will even get better. The experience is also invaluable as there is so much more to learn. I am pro-life, I'm pro-Second Amendment, and committed to maintaining a great and responsible budget and spending for our state. People ask me what I love to do. I love being an active participant in my community, my church, school, whatever is happening in Hot Springs, that's what I love to do. I love Hot Springs and I love Garland County. And I want to continue serving and putting my experience to work for each of you as my constituents. Thank you for allowing me to serve, and I ask for your continued support. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Warren. Next, we will have the candidate for State Representative District 85, Mr. Richard Mcgrew for the Republican Party.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor to serve what is now District 22, that will become District 85. I won't take very much time because I also am fortunate enough to be unopposed, and I thank the people for the district for having that kind of confidence in me, and I have very much enjoyed serving. And it's Les said, one thing me and him have in common, I also started at 100. And but the experience that you learn, I've been there a little over 2 years now, and it seems like I learn a lot every week. What you learn and the connections you make are extremely important, and I'm honored to be there, and I thank the people for the district, and I'll leave the time to the others. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mcgrew. Next up, running for State Representative, District 90, Alan Floyd from the Republican Party.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me for this event tonight. My name is Alan Floyd, and I'm running for Arkansas House of Representatives, District 90. I just want to say that, first of all, I'm blessed. I got a beautiful wife, 2 young kids, aged 10 and 6. They're currently doing Taekwondo right now, so they're not with me tonight. I've been a nurse for 16 years. And then this past year, something happened. I lost my job to an unconstitutional mandated vaccine. And that is one reason I'm running. I've watched the American dream get tossed to the wayside over the last 2 years. My motto, my slogan is Floyd for freedom. My platforms is freedom, adoption, and transparency. So with freedom, we can kind of see what's happening across the ocean. Within 6 to 9 months, that's coming over here. Why can't we go and just write some bills that's gonna, block that from happening from the federal side to make these executive orders that we've seen? If we would have been proactive, I might have still had my job. As far as adoption, my wife and I, we adopted our baby girl. And we didn't adopt here in Arkansas. We adopted actually in Utah because they have better adoption laws for us, for the adopted parents. And they also have really good programs for the birth mothers as well. Transparency. So I'm glad touched on transparency. We all need transparency. There's hundreds of bills written every year that we have no idea what's even being written and voted on. So if I'm elected, I'd like to start a podcast, pretty much telling the important bills that I think might be important to you guys. So the reason I'm running is to restore the American dream here in Arkansas. Another thing too is I'm taking no donations. I want to be a voice for you and not big corporations or PACs. And one more thing, if you don't remember anything I said tonight or anybody else what they have said, remember this. Palm Sunday is this weekend, followed by Easter. And if you haven't given your life to Christ and you're ready for a rebirth, now is that time. Tonight is not about us, about the other candidates. It's about serving and honoring God. So thanks for having me tonight, and God bless.
Next, we will have the candidate for State Representative District 91, Ms. Judy Ladd, and she's running for the Democratic Party.
Howdy! I just had to throw that in. I'm not a native Arkansan. I was born in Montana and I lived all over that state and even the Blackfoot Indian Reservation. My favorite friends were Sioux Indians and Blackfoot and everybody else. And came to Arkansas when I was 12. And I didn't know what that colored fountain was. And I asked my dad what color the water was that came out of it. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, when I graduated from high school, I'd gone through 20 schools. My mother was a school teacher who obviously liked to travel. And she taught at Lakeside. I went to Fountain Lake, went to Lakeside, and then she went to Arizona and went through Coolidge, Yuma, and Phoenix. But California wouldn't hire her, so we were stuck in Arizona, and I graduated from there and made my way back to Arkansas with my first husband, who said he's from Washington, but he wasn't. He was from Stuttgart. Anyway, I've been married twice. I got 2 kids. They don't like me, but that's okay. You know how boys are. And, but I went to the University of Houston and got to work for geology. Didn't get a degree. I got disgusted with the oil industry. And, but I found out what it is working for the industry. It's a really nice family. Most people don't realize it. It's a very close-knit family. It has now turned into a corporate nightmare because we have become corporate-minded. The people no longer matter. But when I was in Houston, I can't live anywhere without being involved. And so I was a volunteer with the Greater Houston area, the Red Cross. I started off as a attendant for foot races and parades, and then I got certified as an EMT, which is almost an EMT, but I refused to get the certification because I didn't want to go see all that blood. And, when there was a disaster, somebody, apartment, fire, house, well blew up, I had to round my crew up and get over there and take care of it. And Texaco supported me. That was an oil company. They supported me when I volunteered to help mentor children having problems at school. They supported me. That's an oil company. But today, Chevron bought out Texaco, and you don't have that. Chevron bought out Gulf, that I love working for, because I was all over the world with them. Anyway, I appeared in Hot Springs, and I volunteered at the Cat Shelter. I volunteered at the documentary film festival for a while. And I feel if I'm going to be part of a community, I've got to live in it and act like it. But my big point here for running for office is that the Republicans have taken over the state and they're gerrymandering the voting to where people are being restricted in who and where they can vote. And I think it's time to stop. And I'm going to take my state back. I want my right to vote to be as valuable as anybody else's and not be based on race, sex, or country of origin. Thank you.
And now, running for State Senate District 6 for the Democratic Party, Courtney Warwick McKee.
Hey, guys. Okay, it's starting to drag on, so I promise I'm not gonna take 5 minutes, and I'll try not to even take 3. I'm not gonna give you my life story. I'm not gonna talk about national talking points because frankly, I'm running for the state of Arkansas. I'm also not gonna talk about women's reproductive rights. So, I do want to tell you just a little bit about me, one thing that I'm proud of. I was actually born and raised here in Arkansas, as well as educated here in Arkansas. I love people. I have lived a life of service, working in the service industry, and I thoroughly enjoy working at Lookout Point Inn here in Hot Springs. I got the job when I started my master's degree, and as Michelle alluded to earlier, I soon found out that there's not a lot of positions for people with a master's of public administration. Luckily, I studied heavily in policy, and I think I found another job. I just need you guys to help me get there. And when I'm elected, I promise to be ethical and to have the highest standards of integrity. And I know that that takes commitment. I know that that means not accepting gifts from anybody. I know what kind of slippery slopes can happen. I actually took a course in ethics. And I know how important it is when you have the public trust to keep it. So, when I'm elected, you will not have to ever worry about any integrity concerns. I thank you all for taking an interest in politics and being here today. It's not always a beautiful subject, but I was born for it. And that's just the truth. And that's what I'll always give you. Thank you guys. My name is Courtney Warwick McKee. And I appreciate your consideration for Arkansas State Senate District 6.
We will now have the incumbent, the Republican Party, Mr. Bill Sample.
Thank you. And I also want to thank the Garland County Library for putting this on. This is something that we need to do more often. Like I am the state senator of what will be District 6. I've been the state senator of District 14. I'm not going to bore you with all the committees that I've sat on and chaired. Right now, the committee that I do chair currently is the Senate Revenue and Tax Committee. And so those committees are chosen by seniority, and right now my seniority number is 9. If elected, I will be number 4 in the Senate. Being a state senator is not all about being in Little Rock. I mean, we are a part-time legislature. Yes, we do meet 3 months out of every 2 years, and we go back on an annual basis and do the fiscal session, which tweaking the budget. But the main part of this job as being senator is working with people in your district. I keep hearing strange noises. I'm trying not to get the mic. That entails doing things like working to try to solve the problems which we have at the Army Navy Hospital, or working to try to save us from having just one 911 call center. We have 2 right now, and they're wanting to cut it down. Those are some small things. I mean, I work with the library here to get grants. We get calls every day from people that have problems, and that is the main job of being a senator, is helping the people work their way through the bureaucracy and all the roadblocks that we do put up when we're carving out legislation. It is always my intent when we're passing legislation about the unintended consequences. When we pass legislation, there's always winners and losers, but that unintended consequence may take and change things from being a winning and losing situation to everybody losing. I want to thank y'all again. I appreciate and I love the job. It's something that I never thought I'd ever be doing. I was a retired businessman, but I do love Garland County. I like driving down Central Avenue and seeing the people out on the streets. I do love working with people. And so I would appreciate you keeping it simple. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna have to ask Paul, running for Attorney General, Tim Griffin from the Republican Party, who sent us a letter. Would you like to read that letter? Come on, read the letter, Jimmy.
Thank you, moderators. I hope that I can read this, worthy of Tim Griffin. He wrote the letter. Dear friends, thank you for inviting me to be part of your candidate forum this evening. Unfortunately, I'm unable to attend in person because I am on Army orders. I'm asking for your vote for Attorney General. I'm the most experienced candidate in this race. As a former U.S. attorney, I've prosecuted criminals. As a former congressman, I fought back against the Obama-Biden agenda. As your lieutenant governor, I've reduced my own office budget over 15% and worked to lower taxes for hardworking Arkansans. I also have nearly 26 years of experience in the U.S. Army Reserve Judge Advocate General's JAG Corps. I understand the issues relevant to this office, and I'll leverage all of my experience and work hard each and every day for the people of Arkansas. I am also the only conservative running. I will push back against President Biden and the federal government when they overstep their constitutional authority. I will also stand shoulder to shoulder with the brave men and women who serve in law enforcement and support them both in word and deed. Lastly, I will work to make our community safer by working to reform our criminal justice system to keep violent criminals behind bars. Violent crime in Arkansas is at a 30-year high, and we need an Attorney General who is focused on solving this problem. I appreciate the Garland County Public Library for allowing me to share with you about my candidacy in office. I have a tremendous respect for the work of the libraries and promote literacy and learning across our state. I could be of assistance. He's left his phone number. If anybody wants to ask me for that, I'll give it to you. Thank you so much. For Attorney General.
All right, is Mr. Jesse Gibson here from the Democratic Party. He's also running for Attorney General. Mr. Gibson.
Thank you. First thing I want to do is apologize. I'm a few minutes late and I missed all the meet and greet and all the mingle. And you'd think I've only driven through Benton about 1,000 times. You think those cones are going to do something different this time? No. But I was a little late. We will stay afterward to visit anybody who has questions. I'm Jesse Gibson. I'm running for Attorney General. I grew up on a dead-end dirt road in Boone County. And I say dead-end dirt road, I mean my backyard was Bull Shoals Lake. There wasn't a lot to do when I was growing up, except maybe go fishing, spend some time in the woods, maybe shoot hoops on a gravel basketball court. But we had all the amenities of modern living. We had an outhouse. And in summer of 1980, my dad got tired of it being over 100 degrees, so we got a window unit about the size of a Buick. And it was great. It even kind of worked sometimes. But I grew up in Lead Hill, Arkansas. I graduated in 1992, the son of 2 public school teachers. After graduating in 1992, went to the University of Arkansas and got an economics degree. In 1999, got my law degree from the Bowen School of Law. And after that, I was lucky enough to take a job with a big law firm in Little Rock. And I realized I had absolutely hated what I was doing. And I did not have any connection with anyone in my community. I didn't have any connection or feeling with anyone who might have a problem. So almost 20 years to today, it's hard to say, I opened my own law firm in Little Rock, in Gibson Law Firm. And I have been in business now 20 years. The lights are still on, the bills are paid. I have tried over 100 jury trials in my career. All cases and all court proceedings are online these days. And I ask you to go and check which candidate in this race has actually tried a case in an Arkansas courtroom. There's one, and it's me. I'm former president of the Arkansas Trial Lawyers Association. I'm on the board of trustees of the Arkansas Bar. I've done a little bit of everything in the law. I have sat across from people who have lost a loved one. I am not a creature of Washington. I am not an insider from the halls of our legislature in Little Rock. I'm not. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, and a bad Little League coach. But I've sat across from people just like all of y'all. Not everyone can go to Little Rock and lobby for or against legislation, but I bet almost everybody in here has been to court. That's the tip of the spear where you really meet what public policy is, what legislation really is. And seeing people who've lost, seeing people who've suffered in these 20 years have let me find my calling. And that's to try to make everyone's life that I can come into contact with a little bit better with the empathetic practice of law. Now, that's why I want to be Attorney General. And that's why I'll be a very good one. Because think of the untapped potential that we have in the Attorney General's office. No other branch of government has the ability to affect more people's lives positively than the Attorney General's office. And we're missing the boat. We are missing out. I also want to be Attorney General, and I poke fun at my little school, my little town. It's like everyone can make fun of their own town, but you can't make fun of mine. But I want to run and be your Attorney General for all those kids that I grew up with, who may not have gone to the right private schools, or who may not have worn the right type of clothes, or who may not have had the right kind of family connections. To let them know, you don't have to be a Washington insider. You don't have to be a creature of Washington, part of the establishment, to affect your community, your state, and your country in a positive way. I want to run for Attorney General on the issues of safety, security, and strength. Safety, yes, shoulder to shoulder with law enforcement. That's part of the job. You have to pursue criminal appeals as the Attorney General. But you also have to work on cutting down recidivism. You have to prosecute and have to help law enforcement every way you can. But you also need to step up for education. Security, your right to vote. Nothing I've seen can link Republicans and Democrats more than protecting your right to vote. And finally, strength. Integrity means doing the right thing when no one's watching. I will never use taxpayer funds for my personal political gains. That, my friends, has got to change. I'm Jesse Gibson. I'm running for Attorney General. JesseGibsonForArkansas.com is my website. My social media all has the same hashtag: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Please go. Please learn more about me and some more of my policy positions. And with that, thank you so much.
Next, running for State Treasurer, Pam Whitaker.
Special thank you to the folks at the library. It's always been a very special place for me. Thank you for supporting our voting rights. A little about me. My name is Pam Whitaker. I'm running for Arkansas State Treasurer. I was born in Amarillo, Texas. My family includes farmers and ranchers, and my dad built every house we ever lived in with his own two hands. When I was 14, I lived in Minnesota. And people said, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, well, I want to fly jets. My father had served in the Navy in World War II, and I was very proud of him for that. But it wasn't until 1974 that women were allowed to be trained in aviation in the Navy. So that went on the back burner for me. I went to high school and I got honors and thought, well, I should go to college, maybe even medical school. But my father had come from a very poor background, the kind of poor where you carry water from the creek back to your house. And he couldn't figure out how that could happen. And he said some hairy-legged boy would take care of me. But I was very determined. And I went to work at 16, and I put myself through community college and got an associate's degree. And then that hairy-legged boy did come along, and he was a pastor. So I served as a pastor's wife for many, many years. But things don't always go like you want them to, and the other person doesn't always do what they're supposed to do. So I felt at some point that I should go back to college. So I took my two kids, and as a single mother, I went back to Oklahoma State University and graduated with a computer science degree in 1992. And that opened up a whole new world for me. I wasn't flying jets, but I was working at Lockheed Martin. And I got to get up in the cockpit and work on the avionics systems that we developed. And from there, I went to Washington, D.C., and I worked in the IRS Department of Treasury. And I did everything there, project management, systems engineering, and process improvement. And I worked in something called the Center of Excellence. And there, people watched me work with frontline to executive level, and they liked what they saw. And they started talking to me about politics and policies, and I was like, I don't know anything about any of that. And at the same time, I had to move here. My mother needed me. And she lives in a facility here in Hot Springs, and my brother's in the village and has been here for about 25 years. So I've been here for about 11 now. I started focusing on my woman-owned small business when I got here, and I learned all about grants, lots and lots about grants. And I worked in many, many sectors, from government to healthcare to banking. And then I also experienced many systemic and ethical challenges along the way, and hopefully I steered them correctly. And so I come to this treasury, I once more was encouraged when I got here. And so I believe it's my duty to step up. And even though I'm very busy, I have 5 grandkids and 2 great-grandkids, and that's a blessing. I do think it's my duty. So I am running for Arkansas State Treasurer. I have some goals for the office. Of course, to protect and grow our funds is number 1. But unlike others, I believe it's important to protect our environment and to support the funds that help with that. And many of you here in the natural state, I think, believe that also. I also want to help extend the training arm of the Treasury, and continue to work with women-owned small businesses and with female farmers. and continue to teach in cybersecurity. I have certifications in cyber and in FAA Part 107 and project management, as well as audit controls. And all of that I can bring to our communities and maybe work with the libraries and the extension offices to do that. And so I bring myself to you to dedicate myself to the state. And I hope that you have heard the word trust throughout this conversation, because that's what the Treasury piece is all about. It's all about trust. And so I look forward to you checking out my website, PamelaWhitaker.com. I will be here again. I am already on the ballot. So you can check the box for Pam Whitaker for Arkansas State Treasurer. And I'm so very happy to meet all of you. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Whitaker. We will now have our candidate for Secretary of State, Mr. Josh Price.
Good evening, y'all. This is just my height, too. My name is Josh Price. I'm running for Arkansas Secretary of State. So a little bit about me. I was born here in Arkansas in a little town called Nashville. I grew up in a little town called Delight, home of Glenn Campbell. Y'all may know, I see some people raising their hands, Glenn Campbell. So Glenn Campbell's kin to me, and I think I've got a pretty strong case here. So his daughter, Kelly, married my dad's first cousin, Jim Whitfield. So that counts, right? He used to show up at our family reunions and play the guitar, and I said, who is this man that everyone's fawning over? Because I was 5 years old and I didn't know it was Glenn Campbell. But my dad is a small business owner from Delight. He owned one of the only gas stations and grocery stores in town. My grandfather was an Army veteran in World War II. My grandmother was the first woman to serve as Justice of the Peace in Pike County. She is one of my inspirations to be involved in public office. She actually used to officiate weddings for African Americans in her home during segregation. And what that taught me was that we can help other people that, number one, don't look like us, and we can do the right thing even when it's hard. And my mom is a nurse from the Philippines. She was recruited to come to this country in 1975 because there was a shortage of nurses in rural America. She left the Philippines when President Marcos was in power. Y'all may remember his wife had all those shoes. But she came over here because they had lost the right to vote. They had lost the freedom of speech. Marcos declared martial law. He liked being president. He lost his election, but he stayed, and he had his opponent killed. And she said overnight they had 9 o'clock curfew and tanks and soldiers going up and down the streets. They had no freedom of speech. They had no right to vote. They didn't see a newspaper for 3 years. So when she got that letter saying we're looking for nurses in Murfreesboro, Arkansas, she thought, I don't know where that is, but I'll have the freedom of speech, the freedom to vote, and so will my future family. So my grandmother was actually had a mild heart attack. She was in the hospital in Murfreesboro, and my mom just happened to be her nurse. So my dad was single. He just graduated college at UCA. He came in checking on my grandmother, and she said, Alan, you've got to meet my nurse. She's the cutest little Filipino girl you've ever seen in your entire life. So she hits the nurse call button. My mom comes in the white uniform, probably 89 pounds soaking wet. And she says, Mrs. Price, what can I do for you? And she said, Teresita, this is my son, Alan. Alan, you're taking her on a date on Friday night. So 3 years later, that's where I came in. But I digress. Now, I'm running for Secretary of State for 2 reasons. Number one, we have to make sure we have free, fair, and safe and accessible elections here in Arkansas. Y'all may not know this, but Arkansas is dead last in voter registration and turnout in the whole country. Dead last. We can do better than that. We can do better. We're also number one in rejection of absentee ballots. So I served as an election commissioner in Pulaski County, and during my time there, I saw a lot of ballots thrown out. Not for voter fraud, because nobody wants voter fraud. You're talking about votes from seniors who signed J. Price instead of Joshua Price. Forgot to put their zip code. Everything else is correct. ID's in there and everything. Forgot to put their apartment number. The ID's in there. Everything's correct. Is this really voter fraud, or is this simple human error? And we don't want the votes of good, hardworking Arkansans, especially seniors, folks with disabilities, getting thrown out for human error. We had a case where we had a woman, 85 years old, had a stroke. She had a letter from her husband, a letter from her doctor, explaining that her signature would be shaky. Her vote got thrown out anyway, and both these letters were notarized. No, that's just not right. I mean, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, we don't withdraw your vote from a poor old grandma who had a stroke. I mean, that's just not right. I've traveled to 49 counties of the state, during this race. Van Buren County had 21 polling locations, they're down to 4. They're down to 4. That's very extreme. You've got some people driving 20, 30 miles just to be able to vote. And again, what if you're a senior? What if you have a disability? It just makes it so difficult, and we should be making it harder for people to vote. Yes, we want to be safe and secure, but it should also be convenient, because that's our American right. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, that is your American right to have the power to choose how you want to vote. Democrat, Republican, you Green or Libertarian maybe, but whatever you want to do, that's your choice, and that's your American right, and that's what I want to protect, is your right to vote. And make sure you can vote locally, conveniently, safely, and that your vote's going to be counted. So again, my name is Josh Price. I'm running for Secretary of State. My website is joshforarkansas.com. Social media is Josh for Arkansas. And if you vote in the primary on May 24th, remember, the price is right for Arkansas. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Next up, we have our candidate running for U.S. Congress District 4 from the Democratic Party, John White.
All right, hey, I'm from John White. I'm from Stevens, Arkansas. I was born in Camden, raised in Stevens, dirt poor. Let's not get into it. Joined the Air Force in 1984, swore my oath to the Constitution. I swore an oath to protect and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. When I was 18 years old, they said, congratulations. That's until you're dead. Well, I ain't dead. They're taking it from us. They're taking it from your grandkids. They're taking it from your kids. You cannot speak what is on your mind on social media these days. First Amendment, it's gone. Guess what they're coming for next? The Second. And they'll can have that Second Amendment when they pry my cold dead fingers from around it. We all better open our eyes. We all better wake up. We all better stand up. I'm sick and tired of politics. Please do not insult me and call me a politician, because I will never be a politician. I want to be a goat farmer in Stevens, Arkansas. I built bombs in the United States Air Force for 24 years. I worked everything from a 5.56 round to a gravity bomb and a cruise missile that will take out plenty of cities at one time. That is what I have done my whole life. I'm not taking it anymore. I'm standing up. I put our top 10 amendments on the table back there. We all need to take one. You all need to take one to your kids, because I ain't teaching it anymore. And you all need to think. If you're in politics right now, you need to think what you're doing before you do it. If you open your mouth and say you're going to promise something, you better do it. I'm not promising you I can do anything. I can promise you I will listen. I will drop breadcrumbs. I want to talk to everybody in the 4th district. Sorry if I upset your son. I want everybody's opinion, because I want to bring it back to you that they graciously took away from you in 1871. Breadcrumb. Y'all need to do some research. You might want to start looking at, I don't know, 1871, 1933. They've done some pretty crappy stuff. They're taking it away. Either we stand up now or we die later. Thank you very much.
Now we will have Mr. Gregory Maxwell from the Libertarian Party. Mr. Maxwell?
All right. How you guys doing? My name is Gregory Maxwell. I am the Libertarian candidate for the 4th District. And it covers 33 counties. My slogan is Liberty on Purpose. Liberty on Purpose is my slogan. And you can follow me at, if you like tweets, if you want to be tweeted, it's at Gregory Maxwell. And then it's got all the connections from there. Now, liberty on purpose, free speech, all the bearing arms, definitely important. Now, I want to let you know I do take care of my son. He has autism. I'm his caregiver. He's 21 years old. His name is Tanner Maxwell, and he's less. He's different. He's different. He's not less. I love him. Okay, that's kind of what keeps me busy. And I got to go back and flip flop. And I wrote mine while I'm standing here because things change just in a moment, just like that. Now, quickly, what we got here? What we got? What is it? What? Answers, come on. What is it?
Coin.
It's a coin. What does it got? It's got 2 sides, right? Huh?
Yes.
No, it has 3. It has the edge. People forget about the edge. The libertarians are the edge. You have Democrats, you have Republicans, and you have the libertarians holding them up. Okay? So all that flat space, you have a libertarian, or you have a Democrat, Republican, but the libertarians are about as popular as the edge of a coin. Now, we're going to change that because there are a lot of libertarians you can vote for. Now, I'm hopefully one of them. I've got 33 counties I've got to prosper to go to, and gas prices and all that kind of stuff. I'm a writer. Well, I just threw that in there for free. I get excited. I talk fast. I have to slow down and remember. Thank you guys for having us and me. But it's just, like I say, this is a Bitcoin. It's a copy of a Bitcoin. It's a binary code of nothing. It's cryptocurrency and it's the revolutionary stuff. Well, absolutely, this is just a facsimile of such. But it makes the point that where we stand as a party right now, it needs to change. The coin needs to be built thicker because the libertarians are going to start taking parties and positions because there are people that do make sense. Some of us don't. On certain days they didn't lie, but that's okay. Now, with money, it seems like everybody's chasing that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. They're chasing that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but you know what? I like to tell you, the field has been dug up. There's no more pots of gold. You're going to have to work it out in finance. And how do you do that? By working together, by working bipartisan, by working with the libertarians. I mean, I can't say what I'm going to do and what my policy will be. I haven't looked at it yet. I do know that I'm going to be all the way till November. So you'll see me here and there, and I'll pop up. I mean, I'm thankful for this opportunity, and I like to use props, and I do love everybody. Everybody's
1 minute, sir.
Okay, I got 1 minute to love everybody more, and tell you guys that I would appreciate your vote on November 6th as a Libertarian for Western, and I'm in his stomping grounds. Hey, I'm kind of in his backyard, most smack some people. That's okay. We do that. You just got to know somebody and be able to reach out and not be afraid. Public speaking, I I don't like it, but I love you guys. And anyway, my minutes ticking, as I gather my place things, my coins, and I concede and thank you, Garland County Library. And if you want to find out more of my information, my past, GregMaxwell.net. It'll connect you to everything. YouTube channels, some funky dances. I mean, I'm just a person.
Time, sir?
Time is up. Love you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. And now running for U.S. Senate, Dan Whitfield from the Democratic Party.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Whitfield, Democratic candidate running for the United States Senate. So I'm going to talk very brief time. I'm going to talk about a couple of very important issues. Unfortunately, right now, our whole entire nation for several years has been divided. What we need to do is we need to focus on policies and issues that everybody is going through. That's why my number one policy is going to be healthcare. Healthcare for all is a policy I support, and a lot of people right away are going to be like, well, that's socialism. How are you going to pay for it? So I'm going to tell you how we're going to pay for it, because this is important. I've driven over 80,000 miles across the state, talked to Arkansans, every corner and in between, Republicans, Democrats, Independents. And the number one issue that I always hear is about healthcare. The number one cause of bankruptcy in our country, 62.3% of all bankruptcies are because of medical debt. And the most tragic part about that is 70% of those people have health insurance. They're going to work their entire lives. They're paying high premiums, deductibles, and copays. They get sick and lose everything. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, you can get sick and lose everything. And America is the only country in the world where people file bankruptcy for medical debt. We know what the number one cause of bankruptcy is, and we need to find a solution. So a Yale University study gave us that solution. That comes in healthcare for all. And how do we pay for it? That's the big question. It's very simple. 4% of your income after $29,000. Average household income in Arkansas last year was $48,000. Subtract 29, leaves you with 19. 4% of that means the average Arkansan family is going to pay $760 per year to cover their entire household. No premiums, deductibles, or copays. This also includes a $200 cap on prescription drugs. It means if you're a diabetic, 10% of our population are diabetic. If you're a diabetic, you fill your first insulin prescription on January, the rest of the year, your meds are no cost. This is going to change lives, and this is going to save lives. If you're a small rancher, self-employed business owner, 1099 contract, you make a little bit more money, let's talk middle lower class, $100,000 a year. You make $100,000 a year, subtract 29, leaves you 71, 4% of that is $233 per month. I don't know about y'all, how much y'all are paying for medical insurance, if we can even call it insurance, but it's probably a lot more than $233 a month. My wife and I, we both work for a Fortune 500 company. We pay $860 a month for the two of us and our 9-year-old daughter. I was speaking in Fox, Arkansas a few weeks ago. My wife calls me, she swallowed a chicken bone. By the time I got there, they did the x-rays, did the panels. They found the bone cut her throat, swelled up, she's all right. $1,000 bill. We pay $860 a month, but $1,000 bill. And that's because of our health insurance policies. We have to do something different. 37 out of 38 modernized nations in the world have a single payer system, and we are the only one that does not. And why is that? It's because our politicians are sold out. It's unfortunate, but a lot of our politicians are cowards. They take money from the health and pharmaceutical industry, and then they vote on legislation that hurts our families to build big coffers. And that's a big issue. That's my number one. 87% of Americans, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, 87% of people support prescription drug price caps. Do we have it? No. Comes back down to political corruption. Another big issue that kind of goes right in line with that is the taxes that we're paying. Your family, my family, we're paying 20 to 30% of our income in taxes. While billionaires like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, even President Trump, paying little to nothing at all. Our small ranchers, small farmers, small businesses, 30 to 40% in taxes, while giant corporations are bribing our politicians.
1 minute, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And they're paying little to nothing at all. It is a big problem. And what we need to do is we need to find politicians with political courage. Politicians that are going to be by the people, for the people, working class people that are going to serve in office and serve us and not their special interests. My name is Dan Whitfield. I am a Democrat running for U.S. Senate. I support our Second Amendment rights. I do believe in private universal background checks. I am pro-life, but I'm not anti-abortion. I believe in our choice because I don't care what politician you are, what your own ideological beliefs are. Keep your own ideological beliefs to yourself off the legislative table when it comes to my daughter's rights. It's very, very simple. My website again, danforarkansas.com. If you have any questions, I will be here to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitfield. Now we will have our candidate for Lieutenant Governor, that's Mr. Frank Gilbert, who is from the Libertarian Party.
What a pleasure to be here tonight. I also thank the sponsoring organizations and all the individuals that worked to let us be here tonight. We appreciate you. I'm going to confess, like a lot of us have tonight, I am not a native Arkan. Born and raised in Texas. Fortunately, as a teenager, I got an opportunity to move to Arkansas, and frankly, it was like going to heaven without having to die. Since 1968, I've served 4 years in the United States Navy. I've been a mayor, a constable, and a coroner. I've been elected as a Republican, an independent, and a libertarian. So you can tell I take politics seriously, but parties not so much. The only thing I'm going to do tonight is tell you some reasons you might want to consider voting Libertarian. First, Libertarians are not all alike. We cover a broad spectrum of beliefs. The one thing we all have in common is that we sign a pledge we call the non-aggression pledge. It's just saying, in matters of politics and governance, don't bring your guns to the fight. Don't put a knife on somebody. In politics and governance, never be the first to initiate violence. Self-defense? Sure, go for it. But don't start a fight, especially in political or matters of governance. Another reason to consider libertarians is that so much of politics has become tribal these days. We have the red tribe, we have the blue tribe, and that's it. If you happen to be purple or green or gold or any other color, tough, choose. Red or blue, red or blue, that's it. No choices. When given limited choices, we tend to make mistakes. The greater our choices, the better our options, the better our choices will be. Tribal politics leads to what we've seen here a little bit tonight. What the young man who's running for school board has seen in his local community, and I hate that for you. I hate to see a local community split and angered, but it's a lot easier to overcome it at the local level. It's even better to avoid it. And the best way to avoid it is to not listen to those voices from whatever tribe who call on your fear or your anger. Any politician who denigrates his opponent or her opponent, any politician who asks you to do something out of fear or anger should be rejected. Libertarians don't act that way, not the ones that I've known. We are not polished in the sense that most politicians are, because we are here to serve. not to build our own cases or to benefit personally from what we're doing. If that was our goal, we'd join Tribe Blue or Tribe Red.
1 minute, sir.
Gold, the color that libertarians affect, as the older parties have taken blue and red, is a choice that you can safely make. Because no libertarian will call on you to act out of fear or anger, and no libertarian will ever be part of the initiation of force when it comes time to write law or to practice the political arts. I'm Frank Gilbert. I hope you'll consider voting for this libertarian for Lieutenant Governor. FrankGilbert.org. You can find everything you want there and more eventually. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Now running for Arkansas Governor, Ricky Dale Harrington Jr. from the Libertarian Party.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ricky Dale Harrington Jr., and I am running for governor of Arkansas. And I hope to convince you of something tonight, whether or not you plan to vote for me. If there's one thing that you learn about me tonight, it is that I am an anti-authoritarian. Let me explain what that means. It does not mean, let me start with that first, that I am against authority. It does not mean that. What it does mean is that I am against the abuse of authority. The abuse of it. And I have seen plenty of that. I've worked in the Arkansas prisons, and I see what power can do to people. I want to share something with you. I was explaining to my son, he's 4 years old, about what he and Daddy were going to do. We're going to run a race. We're going to campaign around Arkansas because Daddy's a politician now. He said, "Oh no, Daddy, you're not a politician. People are afraid of politicians." I have no idea why a 4-year-old would say that to me. I have no idea. I don't know where he got it from. But I want to think about that for a second. Are the people in America afraid of those in authority? Earlier, we recited the Pledge of Allegiance, and those last lines are my favorite, with liberty and justice for all. I want to ask you a question right now. Search your heart and your mind. Can you say with 100% assurity that we today have liberty and justice for all?
No.
Why? Why? This government was formed at the preamble. We, the people, we should not allow ourselves to devolve into these arguments and culture wars. It's not about liberty and justice. We need to be focused on how we're going to move this state forward. And it's going to require us to work together. It's going to require us to set aside some of these preferential issues. They are matters of preference. Now, libertarians, we believe that we do not force our beliefs on others. We want to reason with one another. And that's what we should do. We have a country here that is a great nation. I love Arkansas. I'm from Texas. I came here because of a scholarship to go to Harding. I told myself that I'd never go to a Christian university. They offered me a full tuition scholarship and I ate my words. And I fell in love with this place. When I was 28 years old and I left to go to Baltimore as an associate pastor, it was the first time in my life I ever felt homesick. The first time. And I've been to several places all over this world as a missionary. Now, what do I plan to do as governor? if elected governor. I'm focused on healthcare. I'm focused on our education. And I'm focused on criminal justice reform. And let me start with the criminal justice reform. Now, I worked as a part of a law enforcement agency here in the state with correctional officers. Our prisons are dangerous. And I understand what that feeling is like to not be sure that you're going to make it home. It's not about being against police. It's about people having derived authority and executing that authority correctly. As a chaplain in the ADC, I was a part of the executions that happened in 2017. And there was one person that the question is that that person might be innocent. And I leave this to you. Should we put people to death? If there's one innocent person that has been put to death, should we have a death penalty? One person, one innocent man or woman, should we have it? I want you all to take a look at all the candidates. Make an informed decision. Vote for who you want to vote for. Do not vote out of fear. And maybe when we start looking at one another as individuals and human beings, we can move forward in this state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. Now we will have Ms. Supra Mays, running for governor from the Democratic Party.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for hosting this event, Mr. Haley, Mr. Weber, and the county library and all the staff that made this evening possible. My name is Supala Cyperson Mays. I'm running for governor of Arkansas. I've never ran for office, and I'm not a politician. I tell myself, people like, you're not a politician, why are you running? Let me tell you why I'm running. I can't stand the sideline and complain about what's going on with the state that had helped me to be who I am today. My mother came as an immigrant. I came to the United States when I was 6 years old, and she was a widow. My dad was kidnapped, killed, and she brought us here to this country, to flee communist country. I was 6, I have 3 other siblings. My sister was 18 months old. My mother brought her brother and a sister. Her brother was 12 and her sister was barely 17. So my mother came to America. She spoke 7 languages in verbal and written form, and she had a master's degree. She came here, we were supposed to go to California, but a good friend of hers who went to college with her in our country said, no, Pat, don't take them to California. It's too big, it's dangerous. Come to Arkansas, because she lived in Arkansas, in Fort Smith, matter of fact. So she persuaded my mother to reroute and come to Fort Smith. So we came to Fort Smith, that's where I grew up. My mother came here with all her degree and all her experience. They didn't have any position for her. She worked at a chicken plant at Tyson Food, cutting up chicken. But it was not above her to feed us. That's how I grew up. We were so poor, we didn't even know we were poor, but we had the love of the community. And it's about all of us. My campaign is about people first. No matter what business you are in, you are serving people. So it's about people first and inclusion. It's about you, it's about all of us. You all look like my children's aunt and uncle. So this is not about just certain races, right? Or if you live in a certain zip code. We didn't live in the right zip code. Like I said, my mother was a community leader. She worked, saved money, and became a teacher. She was a teacher. But she had to work multiple jobs to subsidize her income. So she saved money and opened the first Thai restaurant in Arkansas after working at a chicken plant with a master's degree. So I grew up to where we had hand-me-downs because we were poor. But my mother, she did what she could to make sure that we had what we needed. But all we had was the love of our mother and the great community, the citizens of Arkansas that helped shape who I am today. I got married actually young, became a mom by 18, divorced by 19. I didn't want to go back home. So I know I had to survive, and I want to be an adult, I need to be an adult. So I work 4 jobs. I work at a doctor's office, do medical billing for Medicaid, Medicare, and third party. I translate for the courthouse part-time when they needed me. I also work on the weekend for JCPenney to subsidize my income, and I also work to sell new skin to my aunt and my family to help them keep their skin clean and look young. So I did that, and I was able to purchase my first HUD home, was barely 21 years old. So I understand hard work. I understand being a single mom and not being afford childcare, to where my mother came to help me take care of my child. So I know what it's like. I'm an Arkansan. I'm a proud Arkansan. I grew up here. I had an opportunity. I couldn't afford to go to school, but I had an opportunity. I'm very competitive, and I had an opportunity to work for the biggest company in the world. And I ran a $100 million operation when I was barely 28 years old. And I competed with people that had big degrees. But who, or anyone to define that you're not a leader, you're not good enough because of your zip code, because you didn't have mom and dad. So I'm here, and I hope that you will vote for me. Like I said, it's about all of us. I'm about unification. I'm about education. I'm about healthcare, about recidivism, wellness, the economy. Let's create a living wage where teachers don't have to go work 2-3 jobs. So I understand. I hope that you consider voting for me and giving me an opportunity. I'm an entrepreneur as well. So thank you so much for this evening, and I look forward to meeting and hearing your concern. My name is Supa Cybersud Mays, and you can learn more about me at supaforgovernor.com. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.
And our last candidate for tonight, running for Arkansas governor for the Democratic Party, James Russell III.
Y'all hang in there, we're almost done. Again, as with everyone else, I want to thank everyone tonight. Thank y'all for the opportunity of hosting. Thank the library for being a part of this. Thank all of you for the endurance race that this has been. My name is James Russell. Everybody just calls me Russ. If I hear James Russell, I'm gonna think you're looking for my dad. I come from a medical background. I worked for the Arkansas State Medical Board doing physician credentialing for years. Transitioned from that over into working for Arkansas Children's Hospital as a medical staff coordinator. Took my experience there, went back to college, went into pre-med biology and legal political ethical theory on a joint pre-med pre-law track. Before I finished that degree program, my wife got her counseling master's, so we opened up a mental health practice. For the past 8 years, that's what we've been doing. We've owned New Dawn Counseling in Little Rock, Arkansas. And when I say I own it and that we run it, what that means is that for 8 years, if it wasn't one-on-one with a patient, it was me. It was answer the phone, answer the email, bill, schedule, whatever. Now, everyone's like, well, how does mental health translate into politics? Pick a news channel. It'll be evident in 30 seconds. If it's not, you're on a commercial break. But it is a matter of for 8 years. And jokes aside, it's for 8 years. Every email, every text, every phone call I have gotten from someone has been an Arkansan in a moment of crisis. They need an answer. They need one right now. And they need somebody who will listen and who will be compassionate and understand, not judge, not care where they're coming from, not worry about what their financial background is. It's a person in crisis that needs a solution. They need someone who will listen. They need someone who will empathize. And they need someone that's not thinking about how am I going to profit off of it. It's never been our business model to be like, oh, well, can you pay this much in advance? Don't care. It's what help do you need? Let's get you with that. Even if it's with another office, it's let's get you the help. Let's analyze the situation. Let's find the solution that you need and work towards it together. That's what we need as a state. That's what we need as a country, as a people. We need that working together. We need that empathy between one another. It's been alluded to all night, the separation between the parties and everything else. The fact that we have to have a disclaimer at the beginning asking everyone, please, no denigration, no attacks on anything else. It's terrifying to me that if you look back in history, this is not a new phenomenon. It's just got louder in the social media and 24-hour news cycle. We need adults back in the room. We need people who can actually have difficult conversations,
without getting inflammatory, without getting emotional about it, and that can make the decisions that are best for everyone. Now, what does that come down to? Parties aside, we got money in from the CARES Act from the federal government to help get us through COVID, help with rental relief and all kinds of stuff. We're not going to pay all that back because so many of our leaders chose to use that improperly and chose to use that for things that it was not earmarked for. So not only are they not getting to do that, they're now having to pay back millions to the federal government that's now going to California and other places. The decisions our leaders made not only hurt our people, they harm us economically while they're trying to claim fiscal responsibility. We're sitting on the precipice of a $4.9 billion infrastructure bill. $4.9 billion coming into Arkansas from this, at least. Now, the decisions that come off of that are, do we use that money to promote small Arkansas businesses and ensure that you're hiring Arkansans, paying living wages, that money is going to keep in our state and fuel our economy for decades to come? Or are we going to let it fall back to the good old boy system of who knows who and who's going to get the bid, and it's going to go and line somebody else's pocket and sit somewhere in a bank? We need that on the ground working to rebuild our state. We cannot miss this opportunity. Infrastructure for broadband, infrastructure for sewer, for roads, bridges, rebuilding our education. Going back and finding out why is education 70% of our budget spending and we're still ranked dead last in the entire nation. The transparency we've heard so much about the whole night. We need to find out why, what's going on. Before we can have a debate over whether we're going to have, paid community colleges or not, we need to find out what's going on in regular K through 12 that isn't preparing someone for life outside of school. We need to make other career fields. Maybe. That's it. Votex. Thank you. Y'all, it has been a long night, so I know you understand, and I appreciate that. Again, I'm down to the wire on this, and we're all worn out. So I will leave you with this. I've got literature back there. If you pick up a business card from me, if you do anything else, I'm going to give you the website. It's got the website on it. It's www.voteforruss.com. You get there, pick it up. It's got my cell phone number on it. You have a question? We didn't have time for Q&A tonight. Call me. Let's talk. It's no problem. Shoot me an email. I appreciate y'all's patience. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And I look forward to talking to anyone that wants to.
So you just heard from 26 people, and not just 26 people, but 26 people running for office, and it only took 2 hours. So I know probably some of you could have taken that entire 2 hours if we had let you. But there will be more opportunities once we get near the general election in the fall. We'll have other forums and open those to Q&A once we narrow down some of these races to some candidates. But the primary election is Tuesday, May 24th, and Mr. Gene Haley, the chairman of our Garland County Election Commission, he's left a list of all the polling locations. The library is going to be one of them. So I encourage all of you to vote and take everything you've heard tonight and make a great decision. And I want to thank our guest moderators, Ms. Hampo and Mr. Weatherspoon, for all of their hard work tonight. And thank you to my fellow library staff in the back for helping me set up and all of the voters especially. Thank you, those that were here in person, and I know we'll have a great audience online. This was live streamed on YouTube, and we're also going to post it on Facebook on the Garland County Library's page in the morning, so be sure to share those when you see them uploaded, the Facebook or YouTube link. And final thanks to all of our candidates. I know it took a lot of bravery and love for your community to come up here and run for office, so thank you.
Did good.